For the French, the Louvre is more than just a museum. What was once a royal palace became a public treasure house that France prides itself for. It represents the country's history and sits at the center of French culture and identity. That's why it was supposed to be untouchable. The cultural and historical value of the Louvre turned it into an impregnable fortress guarded by scanners, cameras, and a small army of staff. It was believed to be the most secure place for any priceless piece of art. Yet on the quiet Sunday morning of October 19th, that illusion came crashing down. In a heist that lasted only 7 minutes, a crew slipped in through the second-floor window of the Galerie d'Orléans like a scene from Ocean's 11 and emptied 2 cases of crown jewels. By noon, streets were shut off. The French public was in shambles, and every screen in Paris carried the same headline. A sprawling international manhunt underway this morning after thieves took priceless jewels from the Louvre Museum in Paris. This wasn't just a robbery, it was a strike at France's history and its national pride. This is how the Louvre got hit in broad daylight. For a long time, the Louvre has felt bulletproof, a palace-turned-museum that seemed beyond risk. However, this is not the first heist the Louvre has known. In 1911, Vincenzo Peruggia, an ordinary handyman, lifted the Mona Lisa off the wall, hid it, and turned it into a global obsession. After a 2-year search, the painting was found in Italy and restored to its place at the museum. Since then, security was rebuilt, and the Louvre has proven to have earned the status of an impregnable citadel. The masterpieces of art and national symbols it held were safely kept behind layers of protection. Cameras tucked along the walls, locked doors, and guard routes planned to the minute the museum ran like a clock with controlled entrances and a 24/7 operation center. Despite all of this, the unthinkable happened when everyone least expected it. The heist took place in the Galerie d'Orléans, a hall that houses what is left of the French crown jewels, necklaces, and ceremonial pieces tied to French nobility. The gallery was not remote. It is located in the inner circle of the museum, only 250 meters away from the Mona Lisa. In this zone, everything says safe crowds of tourists, thick glass panes, vibration sensors on the cases, motion alarms in the corners, and guards who study every move. The one place you'd swear no one would dare to rob. And that's exactly why the hit felt more like a heist movie than a real incident. But here's the twist. This was not a sophisticated high-tech job with lasers and explosives. It was brilliantly simple. A lift, a window, a saw, and 7 ruthless minutes. It was clear that the heist crew did their homework beforehand. They chose Sunday morning, the quietest hour of the week when foot traffic is low and response times are longer. They came dressed like French workmen in their famous yellow jackets and rolled up an ordinary basket lift to the same facing facade. The placement was chosen with meticulous care near a construction zone, exactly where a lift wouldn't look out of place, and just far enough from the main flow of guards. At roughly 9:30 a.m., 3 or 4 men went up the lift to an upper floor window and forced it open with a blowtorch and a small chainsaw. Once inside the Galerie d'Orléans, they didn't wander or hesitate. They beelined to 2 specific cases with their grinders in hand. The grinders roared to life, and in under 4 to 7 minutes, the reinforced glass turned to dust under them. This is a real video shot by a tourist of one of the thieves while trying to get through to one of the jewels. The thieves managed to scoop 9 specific jewels, a tiara, a brooch, and a crown belonging to Empress Eugénie, wife of Napoleon III, and a bunch of other jewels similar in value. Alarms did sound, and protocols were followed. We were just ready to go in to see the Mona Lisa when they swept us out of the gallery, swept us down the stairs by the Wing Victory. Then we were headed out the exit. We didn't realize the whole museum was being evacuated. Security locked down the room, avoiding a physical fight with the robbers. They then started the evacuation of the museum immediately while waiting for the police. However, the delay between the breach and full response was all the thieves needed to get in, grab the jewels, and then retrace their steps out of the window. This is a real video filmed by a tourist of the thieves descending the lift. They escaped on the back of 2 waiting scooters, but not everything went according to plan. In their rush, a 19th century crown was dropped or discarded during their escape and later found by authorities in a nearby alley, lying damaged on the ground. Inside the Louvre, police sealed entrances, and the museum closed for the day. Forensics teams lifted prints from the lift's controls, pulled surveillance footage from interior corridors and exterior streets. To make sure not to be linked to the robbery, the thieves had rented out the lift truck 9 days prior. They placed the order under a fake name, and when the delivery guy came to deliver the lift truck, two masked guys showed up to the location and hijacked the truck. They painted it and put up a fake license plate. The initial investigation conclusion was quickly shaped. Experienced professionals exploited a construction site adjacent to the museum as an access to perform a high-level smash and grab. The thieves were last seen heading south on their scooters, likely aiming for the highway out of Paris altogether. The first part of their mission was successful, but what comes next is way more challenging. With all of France on their tail, will they be able to melt the pieces and see their money, or will all of it be for nothing? France woke up to more than a theft. It was a blow to national pride that caused a political outcry, with Macron calling the raid an attack on our history. National Rally leader Jordan Bardella said it was an intolerable humiliation, and Marine Le Pen of Front National called it a wound to the French soul. What's even worse, this is not the first French museum to be hit. Since September, 3 museums have been hit in Paris: the National Museum of Natural History, the Museum of President Jacques Chirac, and now the Louvre. The pressure on authorities is at an all-time high to put an end to this humiliating pattern and appease the French public. Solving this heist is a race against the clock. Pieces this famous can't be sold intact, which pushes thieves towards breaking them up, melting them, and recutting their stones. That's why the first week following any museum heist is the most important. If pieces are recovered during it, they are usually still intact and can be saved. But beyond the 1-week mark, pieces are typically already gone for good. 800 million euros are on the line, so they plan this very well with inside help for sure. What they could do, there's 3 ways to do it. They could break them all up, sell the gold, sell the dime. You listen, there's a lot of diamonds, that's one way. Then they could also wait a while, and a lot of times the insurance companies will put out a reward. No questions asked. If they, it's a $5 million hit, they'll put out $1 million right now. And people do that. They actually wait. Up to now, the thieves have left behind their scooters, the lift, and a yellow vest worn during the heist. With only a few clues available, things are not looking good for the French. Can France catch the thieves and save the jewels before history gets melted down? A question only time can answer.